Jordan, the $142,000. Where is it? I queried. Calm yourself. I just held on to it. He grinned. He had no idea I held casino evidence that would wreck him. Where's the $142,000, Jordan? I asked, my voice dangerously low. He just smirked a casual, dismissive shrug. Relax, I just borrowed it. What he didn't know was that I had casino footage, evidence that was about to utterly destroy him and shatter my family forever. I never thought something like this could happen in my family. You hear about betrayal, about people losing everything in a blink, but you never think it'll be you. Until it is. Hey everyone, my name's Marcus. I'm 38, a single dad living in Texas, working as a machinery repair engineer in a factory. My 13-year-old daughter, Emma, is my entire world. 10 years ago, my life looked different. I had a wife, a daughter, a home full of laughter and routines. Then, like so many stories, the marriage fell apart. My wife moved on, started a new life, a new family, and I stayed behind, raising Emma in the same old house I grew up in. It's no mansion, but it's home. It's where Emma and I have weathered life's storms together. Divorce ends a marriage, not fatherhood. And being Emma's dad is the most important thing I'll ever be. What keeps me awake at night is Emma's health. She suffers from severe scoliosis. Without surgery, her spine will continue to twist, causing pain and possibly damaging her lungs, heart, and digestive system. Insurance only stretches so far. The rest? That's on me. Surgery, physical therapy, recovery, it all adds up. For 3 long years, I saved every dollar I could. I worked overtime shifts until my hands were numb, gave up holidays, skipped birthdays, forgot what weekends felt like. Every sacrifice was for her, for a future where Emma could stand tall and walk pain-free. Finally, I reached my goal, $142,000. I'll never forget that Tuesday morning. It was 9 a.m. I drove to the hospital, heart full of hope, ready to make the deposit and schedule the surgery. On the way, I pictured Emma smiling, imagined her standing straight, her pain behind her. We were so close. Then everything crumbled. I opened my bank app to transfer the money. Account balance, $0. I stared, refreshed, checked again. Still zero. Every single cent gone. My heart started pounding. I scrolled through the transaction history. Nothing looked out of place, but the money had vanished. Someone had taken it. But who and how? In shock, I called the bank. Hello, this is First National Bank customer service. How may I assist you? I could barely speak. I just checked my account. $142,000 is missing. I didn't authorize any transfers. The rep asked for my social security number. My hand shook as I gave it to her and answered the security question. Then she said the words that knocked the air out of my lungs. Sir, the funds were transferred via wire transfer yesterday. I blinked. That's not possible. I never approved any wire transfer. It was done using your mobile banking app, sir. The transaction was verified through an OTP sent to your registered phone number. I froze. It wasn't a hacker. It wasn't a random breach. Someone used my phone. Someone close. Someone I trusted. Is there any way to get the money back? I asked, barely holding myself together. I'm sorry, sir. Wire transfers are final. You'll need to visit a branch to file a dispute. My phone slipped from my hand as the weight of it all hit me. I jumped in my car and tore down the road to the bank, mind racing. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe it could be undone. Maybe this was all a mistake. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just a financial loss. This was betrayal, the kind that cuts deeper than anything else. A few moments passed before the teller looked up from her screen. The funds were transferred to a personal account, she said softly. I braced myself. Whose account? She read the name aloud. Jordan Miller. My breath caught. My brother. Not a stranger. Not a hacker lurking in some digital shadow. My own flesh and blood. My fingers curled around the edge of the counter as a firestorm ignited inside me. Fury, heartbreak, disbelief, all crashing in at once. The teller's voice was gentle, like she knew what was unraveling inside me. Would you like to file a fraud claim? The words hung in the air. I almost said yes. I wanted to scream it, but then I paused. What would that even look like? Pressing charges against my own brother? Bringing the police into this? Letting our parents find out through a criminal case? No, not yet. I shook my head. Not now, I murmured. I walked out of the bank, every step feeling heavier than the last. My legs were lead. My thoughts chaos. Back in the car, I rested my head on the steering wheel, staring through the windshield, eyes unfocused. Asterisk why? How could he do this to me? How long had he been planning it? Did he even hesitate before wiping out everything I'd sacrificed for Emma? Asterisk, I clenched my jaw, trying to hold the fury down, but it wasn't going away. This wasn't just theft. This was betrayal at the deepest level. I called him. No answer. Tried again. Still nothing. By the 10th attempt, my hands shook from holding the phone so tightly. My chest burned with the weight of it all. He wouldn't answer. Fine, I'd go to him. I called my mom. After 2 rings, her soft, familiar voice came through. Hi, sweetheart. How'd it go? Did you make the payment for the surgery? Her question pierced straight through me like a blade. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay calm. Not yet, Mom. Is Jordan home? A pause. Yeah, he's in his room, sleeping. Do you want me to wake him? No, I said sharply. Don't. I'll handle it. I ended the call and floored the gas pedal. If anyone was going to wake him up, it was going to be me. When I burst through my parents' front door, they looked startled. My dad furrowed his brow. I thought you were at the hospital with Emma. I said nothing. Didn't even slow down. I stormed down the hallway like a man on fire and slammed Jordan's door open so hard it nearly cracked the wall. He shot up in bed, dazed and blinking. What the hell are you doing? I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. My voice came out low, steady, and dangerous. Where's the money, Jordan? His face twisted in confusion. What money? I scoffed, cold, bitter. Did he really think I came here without proof? I pulled out my phone, opened the transaction log, and shoved it in front of his face. $142,000 sent straight to your account. His face paled just for a second. Then he masked it with indifference, shrugged like it was no big deal. Just calm down, all right? I didn't steal it. I borrowed it for 3 days max. I've got a deal that's guaranteed to pay off. Big. I'll return every penny. I stared at him, disbelief mixing with rage. Borrow? I echoed, my voice rising. You think you borrowed that money? I could feel the blood rushing to my face. That was for Emma's surgery. Your niece, the little girl who still calls you her favorite uncle. That money was going to change her life, not fund your sick gambling habits. He looked away, silent. He knew. He knew he had no way of paying it back. I snapped. I lunged at him, grabbed him by the collar, and pulled him forward, my voice a roar now. Do you have any idea what you've done? Suddenly, chaos. My parents rushed into the room. My dad grabbed me, trying to pull me back. My mom stepped in between us, her voice trembling. Marcus, stop. No one lays hands on anyone in this house. I shoved my father's hands off me, breathing hard, fighting every instinct to throw another punch. Not with my fists, but with every ounce of truth he refused to face. Jordan just sat there, silent. Not a flicker of guilt, not an ounce of shame. And in that moment, staring into his empty eyes, I realized something painful. The brother I thought I knew no longer existed. My voice dropped to an icy whisper. I'm not going to cause a scene in front of Mom and Dad, but we're going to talk, and you're going to fix this. 10 minutes later, the entire family sat in the living room. The silence was suffocating, tense, heavy. I'd cooled down just enough to think straight, but the anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface. Jordan sat slouched across from me, eyes glued to the floor. My parents looked at him, waiting, confused and concerned. Dad was the first to speak, his tone firm but bewildered. Jordan, what is this all about? Why is your brother this upset? $142,000. Jordan didn't even blink. He spoke like he was reading from a script. I had a big business opportunity, but I didn't have the cash. I borrowed it. I'll pay it back in 3 days. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. A business deal, huh? So, that justifies draining my account without a single word. I leaned in, my eyes locked on him. Explain something to me. How did you even take the money? Jordan's body tensed, his jaw tightened, his eyes darted away from mine. He mumbled, barely audible. I took it yesterday, while you were in the shower. My hand slammed down on the coffee table, making everyone flinch. Say it again. Louder. Let mom and dad hear it for what it is. Say it, or I swear I'm filing a fraud report this afternoon. He knew he was cornered. There was no more deflecting. He exhaled shakily, then finally looked up, first at me, then at our parents. When I stopped by Marcus's house last night, while he was in the shower, I used his phone to transfer the money. Silence felt like a hammer. Dad's eyes widened, disbelief etched across his face. You used your brother's phone? You stole from him? Jordan nodded once, quiet, shame starting to crack through his mask. My voice was calm now, but laced with venom. How'd you know my password? He hesitated, then spoke. 2 months ago, after your accident at the factory, when your eyes were still messed up, I helped out. You asked me to use your phone to pay a couple bills. That's when I saw your balance. That's when I figured out the passcode. I shut my eyes for a moment, tried to push down the heat rising in my chest. I had trusted him when I was vulnerable. I handed him my phone, relied on him, and he turned around and betrayed me. When I opened my eyes again, my voice had lost its fire. It was just bitter now. And after you stole everything I worked for, you casually told me you were meeting friend for drinks? He nodded almost sheepishly. Across the room, Mom covered her mouth, her eyes glassy. Dad sat frozen, processing what he just heard. I looked Jordan dead in the eye. Where's the money now? He didn't answer right away. His eyes flicked around, searching for a lie that might stick. After an excruciating pause, he finally spoke. Calm. Too calm. I already sent it to a friend. It's for an investment. It's solid. Guaranteed. In 3 days, I'll return everything plus $20,000. Consider it my contribution to the surgery. I stared at him stunned. Then I laughed, a low, bitter sound that scraped from my throat. You think this is some favor? You think I need your dirty $162,000? My voice cracked, rising with every word. I don't need your contribution. I needed that money tomorrow for my daughter's surgery. She's been in pain for years, waiting for this chance, and you gambled it away for some sure thing. To him, it was just a business move, a roll of the dice. To me, it was everything. Mom jumped in, trying to soothe the tension. Marcus, please, let's just talk this through. But before she could finish, Dad cut in. His voice was measured. Calm. Just give him 3 days. Let him make it right. He had his reasons, too. I turned to him in disbelief, my voice trembling. 3 days? You think that's all this is? Just 3 more days? I stood up, pacing, fists clenched tight. I gave up 3 years of my life. Worked myself to the bone. Missed birthdays, holidays, every damn thing for that money. For Emma. And you want me to just wait 3 days while he plays investor? My voice broke, the pain spilling through. Do you know what 3 days cost her? Mom's face was torn, exhaustion written in every line. She looked between us, helpless, caught in the wreckage of 2 sons on opposite sides of a war. Dad reached over and placed a hand on my shoulder. It was meant to calm me, ground me, but all I felt was the ache of betrayal and the weight of everything I was about to lose. His voice was calm, but there was a firm finality to it, like a door quietly closing behind me. 3 days. Trust me, Marcus, if he doesn't pay you back, your mother and I will deal with it. I bit down hard, swallowing the protest that burned at the back of my throat. This was typical. This was always how it went. Jordan got grace. Jordan got understanding. Jordan got chance after chance after chance. But what about me? What about Emma? I didn't say another word. I just stood up, turned my back, and walked out the door. The drive home felt endless. It was like I had bricks on my chest and steel bands around my ribs. 3 years, 3 relentless, punishing, backbreaking years of saving, sacrificing, clawing toward a single day, tomorrow. And with one careless, selfish choice, my brother had unraveled it all. But even more than the betrayal, one thing haunted me above everything else. How was I going to tell Emma? She'd been counting down the days like it was Christmas morning. Every morning, she'd cross off the calendar. Every night, she'd imagine waking up with a straight back and no pain. And now what? What could I possibly say that would make any of this okay? My grip tightened on the steering wheel as I stared down the road. 3 days. That's all I had to give him. But if Jordan didn't return that money in 3 days, I would never look at him the same way again. When I got home, I stepped quietly into Emma's room. She was sitting cross-legged on her bed, smiling when she saw me, but I could see the weariness behind her eyes. I sat beside her and pulled her gently into a hug. "There's been a small hiccup," I said softly. "We're going to have to delay your surgery for just a little while, but don't be mad at me, okay?" I tried to keep my voice calm, steady, but the guilt and helplessness were clawing their way out. Emma stilled in my arms. "Delayed?" she asked, her voice almost inaudible. I nodded slowly, my heart breaking at the way her face fell. She'd been holding on to this hope for 3 years, and now I was the one breaking her heart. But she didn't cry. She didn't lash out. She just gave me the smallest, saddest smile and said, "It's okay, Dad. I can wait a little longer." Her words hit me like a gut punch. She shouldn't have to wait. Not even one more day. But I had nothing left to give her. I just held her tighter, trying to shield her fro. And a world that kept asking too much of her. The next morning, I was drifting between sleep and exhaustion when my phone rang, jolting me awake. I grabbed it, eyes gritty from another sleepless night. It was Andrew, my best friend. "Hey," he said as soon as I answered. "Today's the big day, right? Emma's surgery." I hesitated. "Not today," I muttered. Something came up. Had to reschedule. There was a beat of silence on the other end. "Something came up? Marcus, you've been saving for years. What kind of problem could possibly delay this?" I sighed, then told him everything. How Jordan had stolen the money. How my parents had asked me to wait just 3 days. I heard Andrew let out a sharp breath, followed by a curse. Then he said something that made my skin go cold. "He's been gambling." My stomach dropped. "What did you just say?" I asked, suddenly wide awake. "Jordan, he's been betting. 2 nights ago, I saw him at the casino." A chill rippled through me. "What time?" I demanded. "Around 9:30 maybe." I felt a fresh wave of fury flood my chest. 9 p.m. The same night, he told me he was going out for drinks. He hadn't invested the money. He hadn't found a business deal. He burned it. All of it at a damn casino. My hand shook, my fist clenched. Then a thought cut through the rage like a sharp edge. Casinos have security cameras. "Andrew, do you think we can get the footage?" He paused. "You can't, but maybe I can." I frowned. "Ow! My cousin manages that casino," he said. "Let me see what strings I can pull." I took a slow, deep breath. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something solid. A way to slice through every lie Jordan had spun. If I got that footage, he wouldn't be able to hide behind excuses anymore. 2 hours later, Andrew pulled up outside my house, coffee in one hand, something unreadable in his expression. And I knew before he said a word, he had found something. I pulled the door open, heart thudding in my chest. Just days ago, I was sure this morning would mark a new beginning. Emma's surgery, her first step toward a pain-free life. I'd taken time off work, clear my schedule, everything ready for that moment. But instead of sitting beside her in a hospital room, I was here waiting for proof, for truth, to expose my own brother. I moved into the kitchen and grabbed 2 mugs, filling them with fresh coffee. We needed. It was going to be a long day. Andrew took a sip, then set his cup down with quiet purpose. "I've got something," he said, his voice low. "Good news." He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. I leaned forward, eyes locked. It was security footage. Clear enough. The casino 2 nights ago, a timestamp in the corner read 9:07 p.m. And there, right in the center of the frame, was Jordan. He sat at a gambling table, surrounded by strangers, throwing cash around like it meant nothing, laughing, carefree, like it wasn't the money meant to give Emma a chance at walking again, a chance at living without pain. My teeth clenched, my blood burned, my fist tightened until my knuckles turned white. Andrew watched me carefully. His voice was steady. "You can't let this footage spread." It wasn't easy to get. I forced a breath through my nose, doing everything I could to stay composed. I looked at him, tried for a smile, but only managed a cold, flat smirk. "Don't worry, your secret's safe." "But Jordan? He won't be." I didn't go public with it. Not yet. I wanted to see what my parents would do, whether they'd finally stop shielding him, whether he'd own up. But I wasn't surprised when 2 days passed and not a single dollar had been returned. That morning, I loaded Emma into the car. There was still a sliver of hope inside me, however foolish. Maybe Jordan would step up at the last moment, and we could still make it to the hospital. Emma sat in the passenger seat, humming softly, playing with her seatbelt. Her eyes sparkled. She had no idea. She thought this was her day. As we pulled into the driveway, she turned to me, smiling. "Dad, are we stopping at Grandma and Grandpa's first?" I forced my voice steady. "Yeah, just for a little bit." I rang the doorbell. Mom answered. The moment she saw Emma, she wrapped her in a tight hug, her love radiating in every motion. And as I watched them, a painful thought twisted through me. If she knew the truth, would she still defend Jordan like she always had? I met her gaze. My voice was flat. "Where's Jordan?" She hesitated just for a second. "I'll go get him." The air inside the house felt heavy, stale, the kind of quiet that feels like something's about to snap. Jordan knew I was here. When he finally walked into the room, he wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't move, didn't speak, just waited. He was the first to break the silence. "Can you give me a few more days?" The deal, it hit a snag. I laughed short and sharp. "Really? A few more days?" I tilted my head toward Emma. "Don't ask me. That money wasn't for me. Ask her." Jordan froze. His voice dropped. "You? You're not seriously going to make me beg my own niece?" I let out a cold, hollow laugh. "Then what did you expect, Jordan? What were you thinking when you stole from her?" The room fell completely silent. Even my parents looked stunned. Jordan stammered. "What? What did you just say?" I pulled out my phone and unlocked it. I said, "Stop lying to this family. I have proof." I hit play. The room watched in stunned silence. Jordan front and center in a luxury casino. Stacks of chips in front of him, laughing, drinking, living it up. The timestamp glared from the screen. 9:07 p.m. The exact night he told me he was meeting friends. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Dad's face was stone, unreadable. When the video ended, the only sound was the faint ticking of the clock. Then bang. Dad's fist came down on the table, rattling everything on it. The force of it made Emma flinch. His voice was low but thunderous. This is your investment." Jordan stood up, panicked. "Dad, please let me explain." "Explain?" my father thundered. "Explain what? That you stole your brother's life savings? That you gambled away your niece's future?" Mom rushed to his side, grabbing his arm. "Please," she whispered. Her heart. But I never seen my father like that before. And for the first time, Jordan wasn't just facing me. He was finally being held accountable by all of us. He had asked me to trust him. Just 3 days, and I gave him that. But now it was clear. Every word had been a lie. A desperate, shameless lie. Jordan stood there speechless, because this time he knew there was no escape. As Dad's fury exploded, I saw something shift in Jordan. His fist clenched. Shame turned to defiance. Rage flickered in his eyes. Then he turned on me. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he snapped. "You set me up. You just wanted to embarrass me in front of Mom and Dad." I held his glare, unfazed. "I'm not here to humiliate you," I said coolly. "I want what's mine. Pay me today, or I take this to court." Jordan scoffed, sinking back in his chair with false confidence, arms crossed. "Do it. I'll tell them you gave it to me. The transfer came from your phone. Who's going to believe you?" Without a word, I pulled out my phone, opened a file, pressed play. His voice filled the room. "Last night, when I stopped by your house, while you were in the shower, I used your phone. 2 months ago, after your accident at the factory, you asked me to pay your bills. That's when I saw your balance. That's how I learned your password." Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her face went pale. Dad's body tensed, fist clenched, shaking with restrained fury. Jordan froze. Then panic set in. He lunged toward me, wide-eyed. "Give me that phone." I stepped back, holding it out of reach. My voice was steady and cold. "Too late. My lawyer already has a copy." Jordan stopped mid-stride. His color drained. His lips trembled. He knew it was over. "You're a piece of," he started, voice cracking. I took a step closer, ready to end it right there. But then, "Jordan, get out of this house." Mom's voice cut through the air like ice. Everything went still. Jordan turned to her, stunned. "Mom, I'm your son," he pleaded. Her eyes didn't waver. "I don't have a son who gambles away his niece's future. I don't have a son who steals for his own family." He turned to Dad, desperate for backup. But Dad didn't say a word. He just stood there, solid, silent. Jordan realized. This time, no one was going to save him. Mom turned to me, her voice softening as she looked toward Emma. "Take her home," she said. "You'll have the money by tomorrow." I nodded and took Emma's hand. As we walked out, I glanced back at the place that had once felt like home. A place filled with warmth, history, love. Now it felt like something permanent had cracked. Later that day, as I sat talking quietly with Emma, my phone rang. It was Mrs. Linda, our neighbor. Her voice buzzed with excitement. "Marcus, did you hear what happened this morning?" Still groggy from the emotional toll, I asked what happened. "It's Jordan," she said. "He refused to leave your parents' house, locked himself in his old room, begged for another chance. But your mom and dad," she let out a breathless chuckle. "They packed up his things, threw them out, and called the police." I sat upright, stunned. "They called the police?" "Yep. Officers came. That's when he finally left." A strange mix of shock and relief washed over me. Finally, they were done shielding him. I didn't ask for more details, just thanked her and ended the call. Jordan had made his bed. Now he'd have to lie in it. The next morning, at exactly 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door to see both of my parents standing there. Dad gave me a quiet nod and the smallest of smiles. "Let's go," he said. "Let's take Emma to the hospital." I froze, the words hitting me like a dream. "Wait, how did you?" He raised a hand. "Don't ask," he said. "Just go." I turned to Mom. Her eyes were kind, but behind them was a quiet weight, a sadness that told me they had made a sacrifice, something meaningful. I didn't press. Not now. I stepped inside. "Emma," I called. She came running, her little face beaming with hope. "Dad, does this mean—" I crouched down to meet her eyes and nodded. "Yeah, sweetheart, today's the day." She squealed, wrapping her arms around me with a joy so pure it made my throat tighten. I held her close, ruffled her hair, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I breathed. At the hospital, I paid the surgery fees. No hesitation, no more delays. Emma was taken for pre-op tests. The procedure was set for the afternoon. I sat in the waiting area, emotions colliding inside me. It had nearly all fallen apart, but somehow Emma still had her chance. I looked over at my parents, reached out, and took their hands. I didn't need to ask how they got the money. I already knew. Emma came first, always. We sat quietly, waiting for the miracle we'd been fighting for. The surgery was a success. Emma would need to stay a few days for monitoring, but I didn't care. I stayed by her side, watching her sleep, peace finally settling over me. After everything, she got what she deserved. But the calm didn't last. On the third day, I returned from getting coffee and froze at the door. Jordan. He stood outside Emma's room, hands in his pockets, trying to look casual, but his eyes betrayed him. Then Dad saw him. His voice thundered down the hall. "Get out. You don't deserve to be here." Nurses looked up. Conversation stopped. Jordan raised his hands, desperate. "Dad, please. I'm sorry. Just give me one more chance." Dad's eyes didn't soften. "The only chance I had, I gave to Emma. You don't get one." Jordan clenched his fist, jaw tight, his rage bubbling under the surface. Then Dad pointed, his voice cold and cutting. "While you're here, let me make it official. You've lost your share of the house." Jordan's face went pale. "What?" His voice cracked. "Why? You can't be serious." Dad crossed his arms, calm but lethal. "I mortgaged the house to pay for Emma's surgery." Jordan stepped back, stunned. "No, you didn't. What did you do?" Dad's tone didn't change. "If you want your share, pay back the $142,000. Jordan stood there speechless, shock slowly turning to rage. "You can't do this to me," he shouted. Dad stepped forward, voice lowered, but sharp as a blade. "I did. And if I wanted to, I could have you arrested too." Jordan froze. This wasn't just anger anymore. This was fear. After he left, I learned the truth. My parents had taken out a high-interest mortgage to pay for Emma's surgery. I looked at them, a storm of guilt and gratitude rising in my chest. I had thought I was carrying everything alone, but they'd been carrying it too. Dad placed a hand on my shoulder, steady and warm. "Don't worry," he said. "Someone offered $500,000 for the house. We'll pay off the debt. Buy something smaller. What matters is Emma's okay." I clenched my fists, feeling a weight lift off me. I had lost a brother, but I still had my parents. And I still had Emma. 6 months later, Emma was nearly fully recovered. She could walk without pain. She had even started running again, laughing under the sun like she'd been waiting her whole life for it. Every sacrifice had been worth it. My parents moved into a smaller home near mine. We saw each other more, shared dinners, laughed, lived. The piece we'd been missing finally returned. As for Jordan, after being cut from the inheritance, he rented a cheap apartment in the countryside and worked on a farm. He tried coming home a few times, but every time Dad shut the door in his face. And a few times he came to mine too. He would show up at my door sometimes asking about Emma. His voice was always low, almost a whisper, guilt clinging to every word. He'd ask how she was doing. He'd say he was sorry, ask for forgiveness. I never responded. I just closed the door. Not because I wanted revenge, not because I hated him, but because I couldn't give him what he was looking for. I couldn't make him feel what I felt. I couldn't make him live through the helplessness, the fear, the heartbreak. But forgiveness? Not in this lifetime. Because he didn't just steal money, he stole hope. He took my daughter's chance and gambled it away like it meant nothing. So now I ask you, what would you do? Would you forgive him? Would you give him another chance? Or would you close the door and never open it again? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for listening.